Okay, so what we're going to do here in this drill sheet is I'm going to walk you through the method and the madness of identifying how these direct object pronominal suffixes are going to relate to the main verb form. And one of the things that I mentioned in our handout on my presentation is that I want you to be thinking in terms of sort of boxes or slots here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make a little deal here. So the first sort of slot here is going to be our verbal roots, okay? What will the verbal roots tell me? The three root letters? Yeah, the nature of the verb's meaning. So if it's a sheen, mem, ayin, it has to do with hearing. If it's bet, chet, noon, it has to do with testing or trying. If it's pei, kof, dalet, has to do with visiting or appointing. Okay, so the root letters are really important here. Now, what always comes after the verbal roots in the Cal perfect? What's that? Not the pronominal suffixes, but the personal ending suffixes. Okay, so we'll put here PE for personal endings. What's that going to tell us about the verb? That's going to tell us the person, gender, number of the subject. Okay, so the subject will be indicated whether it's no ending, which means the subject is who? It's 3MS, it's a he, or some overt subject marking. Okay, and then after that, I could either have nothing else, which is what we've seen for all of our perfect verbs up to this point. We haven't had any pronominal suffixes added. But now we're going to learn that we can see pronominal suffixes added. And when we do, those will be the direct object. Okay? So this is the doer of the action followed by the direct object of the action. Which action? Whatever the verb root is. Okay? So that's what I want you to do is I want you to be identifying your three verbal roots. Draw a line. Now, when we draw the lines here, this is just a conceptual thing. We're not dividing syllables here because you know I'm very picky about how we divide syllables. Not dividing syllables. I'm just bracketing out the three slots here to try to identify what we're looking at, okay? So let's look at Shema'anu as our first example here, Shema'anu. What are my three root letters? Sheen, Mem, Ayin. So I'm going to go ahead and make my line here. So this is slot number 1. I know that this is going to have to do with some concept of hearing, right? All right. Is there an imperfect prefix here? No. All I'm focusing on in this drill sheet is the perfect conjugation, which is why I won't see any imperfect nutty prefixes here, okay? So we'll go ahead and translate all of these as past time. So it's going to be someone heard, okay? Now take a look at the new ending. There's one of two possibilities here. Either the new is the personal ending of the perfect, or the new is the pronominal suffix. If the new is the personal ending, who did it? We did it. If it's the direct object new, then what does that mean? That means that someone heard us, okay? So it matters where you're analyzing that new, okay? If it's the first kind of new, then this is slot 2 and slot 3 is nothing. There's no direct object, and it would be we heard, okay? But if the new is really not slot number 2, but really slot number 3, that is to say, if slot number 2 is 0, then it's the direct object, okay? So we've got to ask ourselves, which is it? And that for that, we have to look at the vowel pointing here, okay? Look at your vowel pointing. I have Shema'anu. What would I expect my vowel pointing to be if it were we heard? First common plural, personal ending. Would I have a vocal shiva here, or would I have a kametz here? I'd have a kametz, and I'd have a pathak there. Remember your song. Pakad, right? Pakad, pakada, pakata, pakat, pakati, pakadu, pakatem, pakaten, pakadnu, right? This would be shamatnu. Shamatnu. This is not shamatnu. This is shema'anu. So what's happened here? This is a CalPerfect 3MS, which is a zero ending for, so it's really shema here, no personal ending because it's 3MS, and then nu for the direct object. We're going to have vowel changes that happen here, and that's why these vowel points are different. Okay, so shema plus the direct object nu, he heard us. Okay, so I'm going to put plus the first common plural suffix. Oh, ¿qué pasa? There we go. All right, so he heard us. The nu is the direct object then. Okay. I'm going to have vowel changes that happen here. Okay, any questions about this? Do you guys see what we did? All right, let's look at this next one. This is the verb bahan. Okay, this is one of our new verbs. Who knows what bahan means? To examine, to try, or to test. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll translate this as to test. Now, over here, I'm going to put my 1, 2, 3 over those 3 root letters, and then I'm going to draw my line. Okay, bahan. Now I have T, who. Is that one long personal ending? I don't have a T who personal ending. Is T a personal ending? Okay, so I'm going to draw a line there. And then is who a direct object pronoun? It is. If you're not sure about that, look at your sheet here. Do you see a who direct object pronominal suffix? Yeah, there it is, 3MS, right? So that's a possible pronoun. Let's go back here. So who's the T ending? That's the question. So we know the who is 3MS, so that's the direct object. T is going to be my subject. What do you normally associate with the perfect personal ending T? 1CS is the most obvious thing. Are there any other personal endings that could be? There is. Well, no, we're not dealing with the imperfect. This is the perfect. Okay? So, yes, the perfect 2FS. So to go back to this handout, if you take a look, there are some modifications to our perfect personal endings before I can add the direct object pronoun suffixes, and it's the 2FS one. Okay? That becomes T. What's it normally? It's normally T with the silent shiva, but T becomes T, and then it looks just like the 1CS personal ending as well. So I actually have 2 possibilities here. So let's take a quick look here. So I'm going to put 1CS or 2FS. So in terms of parsing, it would be, so bahan, cal, perfect, and then my 2 personal ending possibilities, 1CS slash, not 3, but 2. FS, and then I'm going to put my plus sign. Why am I putting my plus sign here? That's right. I have an extra appendage here that's not part of the normal verb form. If it's a perfect verbs always have personal endings. But direct object pronoun suffixes are optional. Okay? I could have one. I might not have one. I could never have a perfect verb that doesn't have a personal ending, though. Okay? And that's why I don't put a plus sign between the word perfect and the personal endings. But I do put one between the perfect personal ending and the pronominal suffix. So who is 3ms? Okay? Now, so what are my two ways to translate the subject? 1CS is I, 2FS is you, tested, 3MS pronoun, direct object, him. Behantihu is you or I tested him. All right? Now, let's look at number 3 here real quickly. We have behanuha. Behanuha. You see those 3 root letters of bahan again? So I'm going to draw a line here to make my slot number 1 for the verb root. Now, you know, this is not where I would draw my syllable division, right? Because shurik will actually have the noon go with it. Is uha a personal ending? No. Is u a personal ending? Yes. U all by itself is a personal ending. Is ha a direct object pronoun? Yes. Okay. So what do I have? I have bahan, again, cow perfect. Now, the shurik on a cow perfect is what? 3CP. Plus, what's the direct object pronoun ha? 3FS. 3CP gives me the subject, 3FS gives me the direct object. So how am I going to translate this? Subject, they tested, and who did they test? Her. They tested her. Okay? Let's do one more real quickly. B'chanam. B'chanam. You see the 3 root letters here, don't you? And all I have is this ending. So, here's the question. Is a personal ending in the perfect? No, we don't have any personal endings. So, it must be the case then that what I have is after my root letters, I have no ending plus a direct object pronoun suffix. Okay? So, parsing that, bahan, cow, perfect, person, gender, number of the subject is, with 0 ending, 3ms, pronoun, is 3mp. Okay? So, my subject is a 3ms, my direct object is a 3mp. How would I translate that? He tested them. Okay? You see how this works? Any questions on the drill sheet? Happy to work through anything with you. All right, so let's look at number 9 here. I have azavatech. Let's do number 9 and we'll do number 10 together. That would be helpful, I think. Okay, so let's identify the root letters. What are we looking at here? The ayin, zayin, ayin, zayin, bet. Good. And that is true for both. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. We're making our little slots, right? So there's my first slot is the verb root. Next, I have these tavs right here. Now, is that characteristic of the cow perfect? Is to have a tav for a personal ending? Yeah. We have pakad, pakada, and then it's tav, 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 right? Pakadta, pakad, pakadti, and then pakadu, then pakadtem, pakadten, pakadnu. So the second person forms, and the first common singular, we have the tavs. Now take a look here at what we've got. This one is ta with the kamets, and then a nu following. This one is a tav, and what follows that is a kaf with a silent shiva. Okay? So I've got different vowel points here. If I had to choose between second masculine singular and something else, which one of these looks like the second masculine singular perfect personal ending? Which one's the second masculine singular? It's ta, right? 2ms is ta. Okay, which one looks like that? 10. So 2ms. So what do I make of this? Is this really the ending t with the silent shiva and then a pronominal suffix added? You're shaking your head no, because you know what happens to the 2fs personal ending before I can add a pronominal suffix to it. It's got to change, right? It becomes t before I add a pronominal suffix. So that can't be 2fs. And it can't be 2ms because that's the 2ms ending. Okay? So what am I left with? Well, 1cs is t, but it's not that, is it? So what is this? It's not 10 or 10. Those become 2. And I'm done with the tavs for the second person form, except for one thing. Yes, what happens to the comet's hey ending on 3fs perfect verbs? They become ot, don't they? Okay, so what happens here is what I would have seen is something like this. Azav would have been azava for she, third feminine singular. She, what does azav mean? Yeah, she forsook, abandoned. Okay, I got to change that to a pathak tav. That would become azavat. Okay, and then I've got a cough here. Which pronoun suffix is that? Yeah, that's the 2fs pronoun, right? Okay, so she forsook you, woman. Okay, now but look at what I've got. Azavat. Okay, I've got a cluster of consonants at the end here, don't I? Azavat. And what Hebrew will frequently try to do with a consonant cluster, if it can, is try to break it up by inserting a helping vowel. And the helping vowel here that is most frequently used to break up consonant clusters is a segol. If you remember, for example, Melech, when it dropped its case ending, was left with malk. It would have been malku, became malk, and then a segol was added to make the consonant cluster break up, Malek, and then the segol affected the A and it became Melech, okay? So I'm just reminding you of that segol here that can break up a consonant cluster. So this becomes azavatech, and the accent is going to be on the bet. And because the stress is here, then that pathak will lengthen and it becomes that. And then since the stress is here, I'm going to have changes in my vowel pointing. The pretonic syllable would be long. The open proprotonic syllable would go to vocal shiva. And since that's a guttural, it needs a compound shiva. Okay, so it's azavatech. Azavatech. So this personal ending is a 3fs perfect personal ending modified in order to add a pronominal suffix to it. I think this one's probably the trickiest of the whole lot. Okay, so how am I gonna parse this? So we have our 3 root letters: azav, cal, perfect, 3fs plus 2fs suffix. Okay, translate. She. Oops, I want to make that future. It's perfect. So she forsook you, and the she is a woman, and the you is a woman. Okay? I could imagine Ruth looking at Naomi as Orpah goes walking away and says, Mama, she forsook you. Okay? Azavatech. All right. Over here, though, azav tanu, there we notice that's a 2ms perfect personal ending, and then the nu is 1cp. So how would we translate this? 2ms is you, man, forsook whom? Nu is us. You forsook us. That's right. All right. Any questions here? All right. Others up at the top? Number 7. Good. I'm glad someone has a question about these because we didn't get to look at this verbal root the other day. But this is an important verb. Number 6 you said, or 7? 7. The perfect number. Mem shin chet. What does that mean? To anoint or smear. Meaning like to smear oil. All right. Yes, I think that I need to go back and check, but I think that might possibly be used as well. This might be used for that. Okay, so mashach, and then I have nu and hu. Is nuhu one personal ending in the perfect? I don't have a personal ending called nuhu. All right, what about nu? Is that a personal ending? Yes, good. Which personal ending in the perfect is that? 1 CP. So who did this? We. So we know it's we, and in the perfect, this is we anointed. You guys know that anoint only has one N right here, right? A lot of people put an extra N there. The energic noon showing up in our English. No extra noons here. Okay. And then who is which direct object pronoun? Third masculine singular. Okay, so this is we anointed him. Good. So let me just change this from mushach nuhu to mushach nu. What would that be? We anointed us. That's right. What about mushach nu ha? We anointed her. Absolutely right. How about mushach nu ha? We anointed you, man. And mushach nu. Silent shva. We anointed you, woman. All right. Great. See how this works? Isn't this easy? How about mushach num? We anointed them. We anointed them men. And if it were a mushach noon, it would be we anointed them women. Okay, good. All right. You've got it. Okay, look at number 6, just to change up the personal ending. Mushach tuni. Sounds like a tuna commercial. Mushach tuni. There's my 3 root letters, mashach. Okay, and then I have tu and ni. So tu is which personal ending in the perfect?
2NP or 2FP?
Okay, is it normally 2 for the 2MP, 2FP? It's not, is it? Yeah, it's modified to add a pronominal suffix. Ross calls this the 2CP because once you drop the ending and make it 2, it becomes common to both genders. And then ni is which direct object pronoun?
1CS.
It's 1CS. So whatever they're doing it to whom? To me. Okay, so we're going to translate this as you, y'all, any gender, mashach, anointed, and then ni is me. Okay, great. Yeah, why not? So mushach ticha. So there's mashach again. T, ka. All right? Personal ending T could be what? 1CS. That would be the most obvious. But is there another option here? There is. What else could it be? 2FS. Okay? And then ka is 2MS. So who's doing this? Let's translate with 1CS. I anointed you. Good. If it's 2FS. I can hardly read my handwriting here. It looks like a theta in Greek. Sorry. 2FS. Okay, then it's you, woman, anointed you, man, a male you. Okay? That sounds awkward, doesn't it? So you have to really get creative in your mind and go, what could this possibly be talking about? And then you can imagine some guy looking at some woman and saying, you, woman, anointed. And he looks at some other guy and says, you, man.
So is that okay?
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, it's not likely. I anointed you is more likely. I could see the Lord saying that through a prophet to somebody. I anointed you, and this is what you did with it. Yeah. Okay. Good. Any other questions? We're good. Let's go to the Ross homework now. Any questions on the Ross homework?
Kind of a more general question, I guess. I ran into it with number 4, but can the adjective take suffixes?
Yes, it can. It can. So yeah, technically in number 4, even though without any context, the imperfect is the way to go with this, it could have just as well have been adjective. Yeah. So let's just think about the semantics of that. The yizkaru, what does zakar mean? There's our root letters. Yeah, to remember. And so what I talked about in my presentation here is that I isolate my 3 root letters, and then if I have a prefix form, I have to realize that the next slot is going to make use of both the prefix and the suffix if it is one of the prefix conjugation forms, which would be the imperfect or the adjective. And then my last slot will be that direct object. Okay, so I got to read these 2 columns or slots together. So the ni is 1 CS, but the yod before the root letters and the shuruk after commits me to what person gender number? That's 3MP. Okay, and if I go with imperfect, then it's they will zakar, which means they will remember whom? Me. And if I go with adjective parsing, then it's going to be translated how? May they remember me, or let them remember me. Okay, so either of those is feasible. You need more context to know which way to go if you were reading a discourse. All right. Other questions? So let's look at number 3. Number 3 is bara'am. So go ahead and say that with me. Bara'am. One of our new verbs is bara, which means to do what? To create. Okay, bara, he created. I have bara'am here. So I've identified an identifiable verb here, bara, and now all I have left here is after the 3 root letters, I have a mem. Now you got to ask yourself, there's no prefix here, so which forms are non-prefixed? The perfect. What else? The imperative. All right. Now, I'd be looking for a perfect personal ending. Is mem one of my perfect personal endings? No. So if this is a perfect, what I have is a slot with no ending represented here, which would be perfect 3ms. And then the mem is a direct object pronoun, which is 3MP. Okay, so that would be one way to analyze it. Now, let's say I want to go with the imperative. So, what would I be looking for here? One of the things that I'm going to notice with the imperative is my helping vowel with imperfects and imperatives are going to be I class. Think imperfects and imperatives start with I, don't they? So think I class. Perfects, on the other hand, start with A class. I'm sorry, perfects, on the other hand, have A-class helping vowels. They don't start with A-class. Okay, and what I have here is an A-class vowel. So that is the first thing that I'm going to be looking for. And so that's going to just eliminate the imperative for me here right away. So how am I going to translate this? 3MS subject, he, barad, created, third masculine plural pronoun, them. So he created them. Okay.
Or do 15?
Yeah, let's look at 15. 15. Look at the Zion's vowel pointing. Is that a kametz or a kametz katuf? That is a kametz katuf. Good. So this is not za, but zo. Zo, and is that a silent or a vocal shava if this is a kametz katuf?
Silent.
It's silent, because kametz katuf is the short O, not the long A. If it's short, the shava is silent. So it's zoch renu. Everybody, zoch renu. Not zaka renu, but zoch renu. Zoch renu. Okay, so I have zoch, and then I've got enu. Okay, now you have seen poke de as a possible formation for what verb form? Think pokod, pokdo, pokda, pokdaha. That's
Oh, infinitive construct.
yes. So that pokda could be a cal infinitive construct when I have some pronominal suffixes attached. Okay, so that's one possibility. Which pronoun is the new? 1CP. Good. But I also now in this chapter learned that when I have an imperative that wants to take a direct object pronoun, I can get that kametz katuf here as well for the 2MS form, the uninflected form. So imperative 2MS plus the 1CP pronominal suffix as well. Okay. So this one is the act of zakaring, which is to do what again? Remember. And whose act of remembering is it? Our, with that first common plural pronoun. So it would be our remembering or our act of remembering. If I parse it as an imperative to MS, then I'm telling someone to remember, and it's a masculine singular you. So remember, and who do I remember, or who are you supposed to remember? Remember us. Remember us. Okay? So that is an ambiguous form. It could go either way here. And again, context will rule when you see this in a real context. You might see it like, for example, with a lamed preposition, lizochrenu. Well, that would make it clear. It's got to be the infinitive construct. I can't add a lamed preposition to a command. How would that sound? To eat! Well, I mean, that's not like an infinitive, right? The Chick-fil-A cows want you to eat more chicken. All right. Good. Good question there. Other ones? Okay, yes. Oh, you have a question?
I wanted to ask about the imperative for the feminine plural. What would that look like? Because he talked about the first syllable closing too.
Yeah, so if I had an imperative, let me go ahead and well, yeah, go down over here. Let's do cal imperative to FS first of all, okay? So taking zahar, the normal vowel pointing is zahor for the imperative to MS, okay? If I want to make it to FS, I add a kirik yod. Accent is going to go to the back. And so this is open and pre-tonic. It will reduce to vocal shava. I already had a vocal shava, so I got two vocal shavas here. Zachari. Got to do the old Red Ryder shootout. And I get zichri. Zichri. Now let's add our 1CP suffix. If I want to tell a woman, remember us. Well, I end with a vowel here, so I don't need a helping vowel, do I? I just add nu directly to the vowel of zichri, and I've got zichrinu. Okay? So woman, zichrinu, remember us. Man, zochrenu, remember us. What if I want to tell a group of men to remember us? It would be not zichri, but zichru. That's the 2MP imperative. Remember pakod, pikdi, pikdu, pakodna. So zikor, zikri, zikru, and that would be zikrunu. Zikrunu. So remember us, you guys. Okay. All right. So let's go back up here. Other questions?
So is there not one for the feminine plural?
I am trying to remember if a group of women are ever commanded to do anything to a direct object pronoun. I don't. I mean, you just don't usually see it. Number 13. I thought you'd never ask. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so number 13. Let's say this together, everybody. Va-esh-meraim. Va-esh-meraim. What are my 3 root letters? Shamar. Do you know the verb shamar? Mm-hmm. That's right, shamar. And look what I've got here. So in terms of drawing my slots here, I have the 3 root letters, and I have a prefix aleph, and I have a mem. Is there an imperfect kind of conjugation pattern that has a prefix aleph on one end and a mem on the other? No. I have prefix aleph with nothing, and that's the 1CS. And I have prefix aleph with the comma te, and that's the cohortative 1CS, right? Now, I don't have either of those, I don't have either of these 2 situations. I might have this because, well, here, let me just put a big fat X through that. I might have a situation where I have a prefix aleph. Oops, I'm not writing very well here. Let's get rid of that. I might have a prefix aleph here and 0 ending, and then the mem is actually a direct object pronoun. Is that possible? It's possible, right? Because the prefix aleph could be uninflected on the back side. So that could be I, shamar, and then the pronoun is 3MP, them, okay? But now look what I've got here. I've got one more thing. This has nothing to do with figuring out direct object pronouns and whatnot. This just is telling you something about the verb form. That should have been a vav, pathak, doubling dot. Aleph hates doubling dots. Says, I don't take that from anybody. Preceding short pathak will compensatorily lengthen and become a long a kametz. Okay? So that's what's happened here. So that tells you that this is a WCI. Cal WCI, which means it's what time frame? Past and always past. So 1CS plus 3MP. How are we going to translate this? I what? I kept. Or guarded. And then the mem, I kept them. Yeah. So Esau says, hey, Jacob, where are my baseball cards? He says, Va'esh meraim. Yeah, I kept them. All right. Hebrew's no fun unless you have a little bit of imagination, right? Okay. Other questions?
Dr. Marshall, I had a question about the example that you did down away from the other problems.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about how the vowel still reduced even though it was standing in for historically long vowel. And I was wondering if there were circumstances in which, like, because if it's defectively spelled, then it would work either way. But it really means that it's the historically long vowel. Wouldn't that still mean that it couldn't reduce?
Yeah, well, so you're thinking of the basic Cal imperative is zachor, right? And when I add the kirik yod, it reduces to a vocal shiva here, right? And then that shoots out an I. This holum here is not historically long. Okay? Holum is long, but not historically long. And therefore, it's not the unchangeably long holum vav.
So this isn't like one of the circumstances where it's supposed to be one but written defectively?
No, not necessarily. Yeah.
Like
So,
in those cases, would it not reduce?
yeah, so like if I had zakor, which is the infinitive absolute, that's historically long. It could be written defectively like that, okay? But it'll never be anything besides one of those two. Yeah, because it can't reduce. And because it's infinitive absolute, I wouldn't have any reason ever to reduce it anyway, because I don't inflect them. Yeah. If we go to a form like here, just to go back to the participle, the cal active participle of zaha would be zachar would be zocher, right? Remembering. So what would the masculine plural be? I would add an im here, wouldn't I? Zocherim. This would reduce to vocal shava, wouldn't it? Zocherim. But notice this holum, which stands for a historically long holum vav, it's just spelled defectively. It'll never reduce. It'll stay holum throughout. So zocherim and zocherot. So, yeah, in the imperative, that holum is not historically long. Okay. So in the imperative, and the cal imperfect, right? Yiz core, which is what the imperative is built off of. We're just chopping off the prefix. So what we have is that holum that is changeable and can reduce. Because when I add like the shurik for yiz kuru, right, that's going to go away and I'm going to get a vocal shava there. All right, good question. Any other problems you want to work through here? Number 16. Oh, this is a tough one. Oh, can we skip this one? No, I'm just kidding. All right, so repeat after me. Buchaneni. Buchaneni. Wow, that sounds like fun. All right, this is one of your new verbs, isn't it? What are the root letters? Bachan, yes. Beit nun. And that means I'm left with, after I draw my little slot line here, I have ni at the end. Are there any perfect personal endings that have ni as a personal ending? No. What about the imperative? There's no prefix here. Does the imperative have a ni personal ending? It's got an e, second feminine singular, but that would go up right after root 3. And there's a nun here. Okay, so obviously what I have is I have either a perfect no ending form, which is 3ms, plus ni is 1cs, or I have an imperative, and what's the 0 ending on the imperative? 2ms with a 1cs pronoun suffix. Okay, now put a Q there for cal. The question is, what is my helping vowel here? Is it A class or I class? It's I class. And that's going to commit me to which one of these? The imperative. Okay? If it were this, b'cha nani, I'm trying to remember if that's a pathak or a komet here. I think it might just be a pathak. Just a pathak, right? So if it were a b'chanani, that would be the perfect. He tested me. But it's b'chaneni with the I class vowel, so it's the imperative. And so that's a command. Test me. Test me. Or try me. Or examine me. Okay? Now take a look at number 17. Here I have shilachani. I should have just looked right below here. There it is. Almost the same identical form, but now I've got the A class vowel instead of the I class. So this one is the cal perfect. 3ms with a 1cs pronominal suffix. So what's shalach mean? To send. So this is perfect 3ms. He sent me. Okay? He sent me. What would it look like if I wanted to say, send me? It would not be shalachani, but shalacheni. You want to see it in Hebrew? Isaiah 6. Who will go for us? Whom shall we send? God says to Isaiah in the temple context. Here I am, send me. Let's see it. Okay, so here, let's look at this. Va'eshma. There's my vayiktol or WCI vav with an aleph that's rejected the doubling dot. So who did the hearing? I did, and it's past time. And I heard et kol Adonai. Remember kol? Voice. Is it definite or not? Well, it's in construct with Adonai, which is definite. Okay? So, and I heard the voice of the Lord, Omer, cal participle, saying, et me eshlach. So eshlach is I shall send, but this is a question because I have me, who, but a direct object marker in front of it. So whom shall I send? Umi, and who yelech lanu. You don't know this verb, but this is, you know halach, but you don't know the imperfect form. It's a little bit irregular. Who will go lanu for us? Va Omar, and that's and Omar. No, I'm just kidding. No, and this is and I said, hinni, which is hene plus the first common singular pronoun. Do you guys know hene yet? It's behold, or we don't say behold too much in English anymore, do we? The word hene in Hebrew is what's referred to by some as a presentative particle. It draws attention to what comes after it. So a modern American equivalent would be yo. And I said, yo. I'm just kidding. Here I am. Shalacheni. There it is. See the sere, the I-class vowel? Shalacheni, send me. And again, compare that with what we just saw. Shalachani. He sent. Past. Perfect. He sent me. Okay. Good. It's fun to see this stuff in the real Hebrew Bible, isn't it? Okay. Any other questions? We have 2 minutes. 2 minutes of pure joy before you have to go to the drudgery of your lives, the rest of your lives. Yes. Number 18. Okay. We have ga'altahu. Say that with me. Ga'altahu. All right. So do you know this verb ga'al? Yeah, that's one of your verbs, right? So there's slot number 1 filled by my verb root. No prefixes here. Then I have ta. That look like a perfect or an imperative kind of ending? That's a perfect ending, isn't it? In fact, this is the cal perfect what when I have ta? To ms. So you ga'ald. What does ga'al mean? You, what is it? Redeemed. Good. And then the pronoun is who, which is which person, gender, number? It's 3ms. So you redeemed him. Good. You redeemed him. Now this could be a question as well. You redeemed him? Just raise the intonation. You redeemed him. Okay. But this is probably a statement of fact. You redeemed him. Okay. That all good? All right. What about mutsa'uhu? Yeah, we've got matzah, which is to find. Shurik? 3CP, perfect. They found who? Him. They found him. They found him. All right. Any final questions? What's that? 23. Let's look at 23 real quick. We have poke da. Poke da. What in the world is poke da? You remember this one? Yes. This is the alternate cal imperative to ms. What's the normal imperative? Pocode, right? With the vocal shava holum, but I could also have pokda. Both of them are the same. Appoint. That's it. Okay? Now, if I had a mapik here, then this would be a komate 3fs pronominal suffix. And then it would be her act of appointing or visiting. Okay? But that is not what we got here. We got the alternate to ms imperative.
And then if it was the imperative with the 3FS, would it be podeja?
Let's see. Yeah, it would depend on what pronoun we want to add to it. But yeah, it'd be something like maybe pokdenu would be appoint him, or appoint us. Pokdehu would be appoint him. Remember, appoint him could be ehu or enu with the energic noon. Yeah. Let's look at number 1 here. I'll make this a little bit bigger. We have tishmarani. Tishmarani. What do I have here? Do you have 3 verbal roots that are identifiable? From shamar. Very good. So I have a prefix, so I'm going to go ahead and put a little line to the right of sheen, and then I'm going to draw a little line to the left of resh to isolate my slot of the verbal roots. Now the next thing I have is ni. Okay, I have ni here. That is an identifiable pronominal suffix, and so it appears that I don't have any ending to go with the tav prefix. In other words, it's a prefix tav with 0 ending here. Okay? Shamar is the middle part, and the ni is my pronoun, my suffix. Which pronoun is ni? As you know, it's 1 CS, right? So is this a cal perfect or a cal imperfect? Yeah, it's a cal imperfect with a tav prefix and no ending. It's 2 possibilities, right? That could be 3FS or 2MS. Okay? So it's either she will shamar or he or you, man, will shamar. What does shamar mean? Keep. Keep or guard. Okay, so she or you will guard. Direct object will guard who? That's first common singular. Me. Right? So she or you will guard me. That's it. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. Any other ones? Number 5. Okay. Here we have lukadtuhu. Lukadtuhu. Are there 3 identifiable verb root letters? Yep. We have lakad. Okay. So notice I have no prefixes. So my instant parsing antenna would go, probably a perfect here. Okay. But it also could be imperative, and so I want to look and see if there's anything on the backside of the 3 root letters that would commit me to a perfect parsing as opposed to an imperative. So I'm going to draw my line. Got my root slot done. Now I have tuhu. Does to look like the perfect conjugation personal ending for something, whether the real ending or the modified ending? Or does that look like an imperative kind of ending? That doesn't look like an imperative ending, does it? No, the imperatives don't have to at the end of them. Okay? This is a perfect kind of personal ending. But it's the modified one. This is the second common plural. The 2MP, 2FP become 10 and 10 become 2. All right? And who is third masculine singular suffix. So this is a cow perfect of lakad. Now what does lakad mean? To capture. So who captured in the perfect? Second common plural? Y'all captured. What did y'all capture? Y'all captured who? Y'all captured him. Okay? So the direct object pronoun is him. Y'all captured him. Yes.
This might be a dumb question, but what is the second common plural?
This.
Get out of my chart.
Okay, yeah. Here, let me go back to your chart. Do you remember this?
Was that pancake on you?
Remember this here? Okay. Ross calls the resultant form of the second masculine plural and feminine plural the common plural because they're both the same. There's no distinction between masculine and feminine once the alteration happens. Okay? Normally, you can tell the difference. Tem and ten. Okay? But when they both become two, you can't tell the difference. So he likes to call that a second common plural. So let's look at number 6 here. Number 6 does form a little bit of a special case for us. We have, again, we're always looking for identifiable verb roots, and kathav is a verb we've learned. What does kathav mean? To write. And so I'm going to draw my little line here. Okay? I have no prefixes before the first root letter, so my default expectation here is that this is a perfect verb. Now, does the perfect have tavs after the third root letter? Yeah, I've seen perfect personal endings with a tav, right? Now, what's going on here? Let me go ahead and just explain to you what happened, and then we'll work backwards to see how this form came up. Okay, the personal ending ta, like this, would be the 2ms ending. And then if I add who to that as a direct object pronoun, I get tahu. And what can happen is this can contract and end up with toe. Okay? So this is the second masculine singular plus the third masculine singular direct object pronoun. And that should have been the way I parsed it here. Let me make sure that I gave you the right answer here. Okay, so cow perfect 2ms plus the 3ms. So you, man, did the writing. What did you write? You wrote him or it. In this case, it would be an it. So let's go backwards. If you look at page 174, okay, go to page 174, third column, you have the 2ms perfects, and he gives you two possible ways of doing this. I showed you that you have tahu, so he gives you pakad tahu, you appointed him, or you could see the form where it contracts and just becomes, the ahu becomes o, like we have here. Katav to instead of katav tahu. Okay? So those are both the same form. The perfect 2ms plus the 3ms pronoun. All right. Any other questions? Yeah, no. I get that. And you know that chart on page 174, that's a long and detailed chart. Who wants to sit up and read that at night? You'll fall asleep. Okay. Other questions? 17?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. So I have shilachani. Shilachani. This is what verb? Shin, Lamed, Chet. What does shalach mean? This is to send. So shalach, to send. And then I'll go ahead and draw my line here. I have ni at the end of it. So whatever this is, there's really a slot that has no ending and then the ni. Okay? So what are my possibilities? I have no prefix before the shin. So I need to be thinking this is perfect or imperative. There's some personal ending. If it's the perfect with zero ending, then what is that? What's the zero ending form of the perfect? 3ms. If it's the imperative with no ending, then it's the 2ms. Okay? And then either way, both of these have the 1cs direct object pronoun. So the question now becomes, how do I determine whether this is the perfect or the imperative? I have this strange vowel pointing here that indicates vowel reduction, okay? It's going to be this little puppy right here. Under root 3, when I have no vowel because I have no ending, I need a helping vowel before my first common singular direct object pronoun. What vowel class is that? A or I vowel class? That is an A class vowel. Which conjugation pattern is using A class vowels? The perfect suffix conjugation pattern or the prefix conjugation patterns, which include the imperfect and the imperatives? Well, this is for the perfects, isn't it? Because the imperfect and imperative use the I class vowel here. Okay? So that's how I can tell the difference. So this is the Cal perfect 3ms plus a one common singular. He sent, and whom did he send? He sent me. All right? If I'd had a sere here, if I'd had a sere and it would have been shilacheni, then that would have been the command, imperative 2ms. Send me. Okay? Okay, so number 28, we have shivruhu. Shivruhu. Do you see 3 identifiable root letters here? Shin, bet, resh. Shavar. Okay? Now I have u and hu. So I only have 3 slots here. There's no prefix. So this is either the perfect or the what? Or the imperative. Can't be the imperfect. Okay. Here's where we have to look now, because we have actually seen both of these types of endings. Shuruk endings can go on the imperative and the perfect, and who endings as direct object pronouns can go on both. I want to look at this vowel under the shin. Which conjugation pattern has a vowel pattern like shivru? Shivru. Does the perfect get I-class vowels under the root 1? No. I will either see a long A, or it will go all the way down to vocal shava. Pa, kad, pa, kada, or p, kad, something. Okay? Where do I see the kirik show up? It's in the imperative form. Remember, I get pakod, pikdi, pikdu, pakodna. Pakod, pikdi, kirik, pikdu, pakodna. And so for the the imperative of shavar would be shavor, shivri, shivru, shavorna. Okay? So this is characteristic of the imperative. And if it's the imperative, the shuruk at the end of an imperative is always 2MP. So this is a command to break. Shavar, break. Shivru, hey you guys, break. Who? Break him. This is what the Russians were telling. Who was the guy that Rocky Balboa fought in Rocky 4? Yeah, Drago. Yes, Ivan Drago. So, the Russians were speaking Hebrew, and they said, hey, Ivan, shivruhu, break him. And that's why he goes in and says, I must break you. Okay? So, shivruhu, break him, or break it if it's a masculine singular noun that happens to refer to a thing. Okay, so does that help? Okay, good. Good. If you're wondering what would the perfect have looked like, it would have been something like this. It would have been shavar, and then it would become shavaru, where we would have had a reduction of this to vocal shava, shavaru, and then we add the hu, and we would get the vocalization that follows the noun pattern as opposed to the typical verb pattern, and it would have become something like this: shavaruhu, shavaruhu. That would be they broke him. Past tense, Cal Perfect, 3CP. They broke him. Okay, so we do have different vowel patterns. Everything else would have looked the same. All right. Other questions? Let's look at 25. Here we have va yishmaruni. Va yishmaruni. Now, I identify 3 verbal roots here as a fairly common verb, right? Shamar. We've seen this a number of times now. And I am going to go ahead and draw my lines between these. Then I have u, ni. I know u is a personal ending. Ni is a direct object pronoun. Now I've got one thing attached here before the yod, and it's a vav with a pathak and a doubling dot in the yod. That tells me that this is what vowel or what conjugation pattern? WCI, okay? Now, everything that we learned about the imperfect, as far as how to attach direct object pronouns to the imperfect, applies to the WCI, because the WCI is using the prefix conjugation forms too. All right? So, my parsing is not going to be cal imperfect, then it's going to be cal WCI. And notice I have a yod in front and a shurik on the back side. Which person gender number is prefix yod followed by a shurik after the root letters? That's 3MP. The ni is which direct object pronoun? Plus 1CS. So I have to translate a WCI3MP the right way. It's they, and what's the time frame? They, past, present, or future? WCIs are always what time? What tense? They're always past, okay? So they kept or guarded. And whom did they guard? Ni is they kept, guarded me. Okay? Got to translate the WCI as a past tense form. It's always past. Does that help? Mm-hmm. Anything else here? Okay. If not, then we will call it a day on that one.